Good morning. Good morning. It's still alive. I'm not going anywhere. Not if I can help it. Things have been very tame for the past, well, since I've been here. Since I've been here this last trip. Uh, and last night was an example of the police standing down and being uh, relatively non combative. Despite all the taunts and uh, from the protesters, they didn't react. And they're right now the chief. Hey, good morning, there, Soy Dog Cowboy. Their chief executive officer is giving a press conference. Unfortunately, uh, the vast majority of it is in Chinese, which the only Chinese words I know are swear words. And it's not because I've wanted to swear, it's just because that's what people are teaching me. And I do hear that, uh, I do hear this a lot in the protest. I hear a lot of people screaming some of these swear words, so I guess it's beneficial. But they have some very creative ways to taunt the police with words. But last night I was out with V and John. I was out till about 1:30. Didn't get back till about 1:30 in the morning. Uh, Slowly but surely things dwindled down. Hey, Fidelity. There was a point where there was a couple thousand people there, maybe 1,500, something like that. But there was a fair amount, and from what I've seen, this week is going to be very busy. There's always lunchtime protests. There's still the issue of the kids in Poly U, and I've heard that they've all got out and people don't acknowledge this. I've heard that there's maybe 2 dozen, and that some of them are suicidal and uh, they need help right away. And I did see two ambulances go into the campus where the kids are, but I don't know if uh, who they took out or anything like that. They haven't said. They've been very tight-lipped about this. Press conference is already over. Um, and from what I'm seeing, and from what the English comments uh, and question comments in the thread, and also by the journalist there, from everything I've gathered, Carrie Lam basically did what a politician does. She didn't answer the questions. She gave roundabout answers. Uh, and maybe that's all she wants to give. I don't know. But I think there's also, what was the thing here? I don't know if I can get, I don't think I can get to it right now. But uh, let me think I can't think of what publication it was in. But they're changing the liaison, or they're thinking of changing the Chinese government is thinking of changing the liaison between China and Hong Kong. They have an office where they do they all their information goes through, and I guess that their thinking is that the liaison off the chief liaison officer. Uh, what's the word, underestimated the the situation here and the effects that would have throughout Hong Kong society, which is probably a fair assessment. But then again, I don't believe that Beijing is going to capitulate to anything. I don't believe that they may view it as a problem of these elections, and that elections are certainly more political than normal local elections because they show that the people are very unhappy. And the chief executive officer, Carrie Lam, she just admitted, she confessed these are much more political than usual, and that the people have spoken. But I don't know that that means she's willing to give in to any of these demands. I just from everyone who I've talked to who is far more informed than I am about this, this is a long, protracted battle. This is not going to be something that in a week or two everything is over. The protest may die down. There may be lulls, but it's not going to end until they get what they want, which they want their autonomy and they want their freedom. And again, I've said this before, it's not about them trying to gain independence, but in the end, that may be what they need to do. I don't know. So that's kind of what's going on. There are, on Thursday alone, there's something like 3 rallies, protests, gatherings, whatever you want to call them. And I've extended my stay until Saturday. I want to see what happens in the next couple of days. Yeah, we'll see. It's interesting even to go on the line and just stream or shoot video of the lunchtime protests and what's going on now. It's still very important what's going on. They don't have to be violent and vandalize things to get their message out, especially when the police are not attacking them. And the police very clearly have an order from somewhere to stand down, and because normally in situations like last night, they would have been firing tear gas left and right. There were many times. They did start shining the lights at people. There were people flipping them off, throwing paper airplanes at them, which they would write messages on the paper airplane and then throw them up to the overpass where the police were, and they were flipping them off. They were screaming all kinds of things in Cantonese. And I'll tell you what, and I know that V or Simon, I know that he can attest to this, but the swearing of Hong Kongers, the only way I can describe it is world class. It's not just one bad word or whatever you want to call it. It's not just one word and that's it. There's these very long descriptive sentences, and most of the time hey Tom, how's it going? Most of the time you can see that it really upsets the cops. And in the past, if someone did this and they continued, the cops would jump in, and they would jump in and go after the people. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Yeah, all that doesn't surprise. Nothing surprises me, really, at this point. Nothing surprises me what the CCP is doing. When you bus in hundreds of people to vote in Hong Kong from the mainland, and then you've got all these things going on with the Uyghurs, the Uyghur Muslims. I think, and not to mention all the other human rights atrocities, and There's a journalist that I know, a photographer I know, who, well, some of them might, and that is a concern because of the train that, or trains that we're seeing. It was actually 9 days ago, but no, it was a week ago. 1 week ago, a week and a day. Sorry, 8 days ago, there was a train or trains. I believe it was trains of arrested protesters going somewhere, and this is the thing. The follow up here is rather poor. And if I had more time and energy and money, because it takes a lot of time, because the more time you're here on the ground, the more it costs. That's the bottom line. But I wouldn't mind going and trying to follow up with some of these people under the condition of anonymity or not. Uh, but and maybe I can for one or two of them, but it's quite difficult because um, it seems, and you know, V lives here, and he is a lot more in tune with the society, and he has Hong Kong friends and everything. But the men are a bit more difficult to break through and get to be get them to be open. The women tend to be very open. They tend to be very open and outspoken, and they're not. They're definitely, you know, like where some people view Thai women or like Japanese women as these demure, wonderful women who would never raise their voice, and you know, they'd rather cry than yell and scream. Which is not true, but that's definitely not the case here. You got old women literally throwing themselves at police, screaming and yelling at the top of their lungs. I have to say thank you to the woman who gave Simon and I some spam. So, Longhorns, if you're listening, I did have a chunk of spam, but I had just eaten something and I wasn't very hungry. And I don't know, well, I'm not going to get into that yet. It's not the end of the stream. For those of you who know what we talk about at the end of some streams, I, yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to go any further on that. But let's see here. Let's see what else is going on here. All right, this is from last night. You know, here's the press conference. This is from last night. Uh, yeah, I'm seeing a lot of the same thing that I've been seeing, which is she talks and talks and talks, but she doesn't listen. Uh, she talks about having these forums or community discussions, but she doesn't listen. She doesn't care. You know, it's just it's like all talk, no action, and so we go on. I guess that's pretty much where it is. I go on with this. Uh, V will go on with this. All the other people involved, they will go on with this as long as they can. And of course, the people who are anti-government, they're going to fight this tooth and nail, and the majority is behind this movement. So, you know, I've been talking to a lot of people about this, and because of the fact that they like to delay, blame others or blame a situation on something unrelated to them. It's not that they're not listening. no, 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 we are listening, we hear you, but, and then they give a reason. But you need to understand, when you do this, we're not going to do this. When you do something, we have to act a certain way, so we can't do it yet. It's your fault. When the truth of the matter is that uh, I think I saw something like 30 humanitarian. Where's my other phone? 30 humanitarian NGOs have declared the police force of Hong Kong to be infringing on human rights, and so I think that in some ways, for now, I think the government is going to behave. The police force is going to behave. I thought that they might shoot the tear gas off in the beginning last night because they were walking around and the guy was getting ready to take his flag out, and they must have got the order. Now, you can't do it. And I don't know now if they're going to. Maybe it's a different tactic. I've heard that also. This is a different tactic. They're going to try it this way because China tries to brush off pro-democracy victory. I don't know if I can get these messages on my. I got to get my other phone out. It's in my bag. Hang on. Live from prison studios. It's about what it is. Phew, man. This room is getting a bit funky. Let's see here. Oh, all right, it's on. Good deal. Oh, it's been on the whole time. Let me see what this message says. And I can also look up the article that I wanted to look up that was quite informative and told me a lot about what I wanted to talk about. That one's all right. Let's see here. Where's my glasses? All right, China tries to brush off pro-democracy victory in Hong Kong election and blames foreign forces for interfering. Now, credit to SCMP, the South China Morning Post, because they do tend to lean a little left, as in left towards China. State news agency Xinhua refuses even to report pro-establishment's heavy losses and reports. Let's see here. Well, this is if it'll load. Here we go. And reports only that the elections have taken place. Official outlets say government supporters were harassed on the campaign trail and accused Western countries of fueling unrest. That's such a crock. Oh, because if anything, it was the government side that were harassing the protesters. That were giving gifts and guiding people into that didn't even know what they were voting for. I wonder if that thing about the cat was true, though. That's pretty funny. Some of this stuff, I have to do what V does, which is oh, wow. He just got a message. Your mother will explode and illuminate the entire Taiwan Strait tonight. These are like the threats and swears and kind of statements of these people, you know, that are so pro-China that they give. Oh, here it is right here about the liaison. But let me get back to this one article here, because this is what I was talking about. And my friend, which many of you may know from the bum gun episode, Chuck was telling me, he said, oh, all my friends are very aware. Okay, I understand they might be aware of what's going on, but the vast majority of Chinese do not. They're oblivious, nor do they care, or they refuse to believe. And I've been there, and they really don't care. It's they're living, and I understand they're living in their own world. They don't want to know. I don't know how bad that really is, but when they're doing things that cause harm to others, so that they can keep that type of, I don't want to call it, well, brainwashing. They leave them out of the loop. Okay, now here's, oops, oh, damn it. This thing is very, very slow. Oops, let's see here. Where am I at? I'm not getting my messages. I'm sure the protesters, do you think her walk downtown yesterday was planned for sympathy? Who? The lady, Regina Ip? Because she didn't get any sympathy. She got none. Let me see here. I can do it online here. All right. Got it. There we go. I wonder if CCP doesn't want to lose HK's special status along with international coverage. Is it? Well, I think that honestly, I think the coverage has a lot to do with it. And, I think it's the trade deal that has something to do with it. And I think they probably know that for the long term, if they were just to crush everything going on here and just kill people, they just open fire on people, killing protesters, journalists, anybody around, innocent bystanders. I think they know it would not be good for them. I think they are smart enough to understand that, but I also think that they're the types who they look at it like, well, if we feel we have to do that, and then if you jump in, you're infringing on, like they've said before, our sovereignty, and you have no right to do this. But what they don't understand is that, or it seems like they refuse to understand, is that when it comes to human rights, there are nowadays people are very aware that human beings should have certain rights. And I don't think in China that they really believe that. No, they don't really need Hong Kong. And my buddy who used to live here, Steve from Steve's Kitchen, informed me that in the past China needed Hong Kong. It was very fruitful for them. But now it's only a very small portion. Hey, thanks a lot, Tom. Thank you very much. Everything helps. I really appreciate it. I've been here now for what? What's today? Tuesday? A week. Yeah. A week. Week and a day? I don't know. 6 days? No, it's been a week. Been here a week. And, it's just like anywhere else. It costs to do things. So I appreciate that, Tom. But let me look at this thing here. I think if China wanted to, they could probably bring in whatever, they could do whatever they need to do here. They could destroy this place. But then again, the long-term cost would be too high, I believe. Right. Yeah, that's what I was told. It was something like 3%. Let me get this here. Now, there are some negatives to these elections, and one of them is that there are some inexperienced people that have won their seats. Hang on a second. I gotta look at this other thing up real quick. If it'll come up. Well, I think it was a joke. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't see it anywhere, but it was up before that a cat had won one of the districts by a landslide. I was like, this can't be true. But it was like a reputable news organization. Um, I was very surprised, but I think it was just a joke. Okay, yeah, it's foreign forces are interfering. And I don't know if you saw the stream yesterday. Uh, wow, thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Very cool. I like the little emoticon or emoji or whatever you call it, sticker. Let's see here. News of the results on the mainland are heavily censored. State media preferred to focus on calls for law and order to be preserved and the accusations that Western countries had been instigating unrest. Many official media outlets only ran brief reports on the vote, with state news agency Xinhua declining to report the results, in which the pro-democracy camp took control of 17 of 18 councils. The report continued: in the past 5 months, violent rioters who wanted to turn Hong Kong upside down have colluded with foreign forces. Non-stop social unrest has seriously disrupted the election process, and some troublemakers have harassed individual patriotic candidates on the election day. And present, putting an end to the violence and restoring order remains the paramount tasks of Hong Kong. Wow. What is that? There we go. Oh, wow. Speaking to reporters in Tokyo, Foreign Minister Wang Yi also played down the significance of the defeat and said the elections would not change the fact that Hong Kong was part of China. It's not the final result yet. Let's wait for the final result, okay? Wang said on Monday morning before the results had come in. However, it is clear that no matter what happens, Hong Kong is part of China and in a special administrative region of China. He also alluded to the charge that Western countries, especially the U.S., have been encouraging the anti-government protests, saying any attempt to mess up Hong Kong or even damage its prosperity and stability will not succeed. Wow. The commentary warned that some American politicians were playing with fire and said that their ploy was doomed to fail. I think that shows you a little something. I've heard this from the first day that I got here, that the CIA is involved, that the U.S. government's involved. Why is it that every single time there's an issue, everybody blames the United States? The United States got its own problems. Pretty clear. And I don't, somehow I find it hard. Okay, just believe 50%. All right, so 50% of it is true. That's my rule. Believe 50% of what you hear. And don't believe the other 50%, and, you know, take it from there. Wait for the facts. I will say this, though. I've met a couple of people based in China, and the one person told me that they were, and they had been there for many years, 2 decades. What they told me was, they were sick and tired of the place, because they were sick and tired of feeling like someone was always watching them, and that someone was always judging them, and they couldn't report what they wanted to report all the time for fear of being dragged in. So self-censorship. You know, well, if you do this, if you do A, B is going to happen, and it's not going to be pleasant. So you have to self-censor yourself. And that's a big thing now in the world. Places simply threaten to do something to you, and to a journalist, to whoever in the media. And if you say something, you know, I'm going to be taken in, I'm going to be questioned, maybe I'll be thrown in jail, maybe I'll get a prison sentence. So the self-censorship thing is big, but one of the things that they told me was they didn't like the whole cameras everywhere, tracing your every move. That it was difficult in the city to get away from cameras. That it just felt so odd, and that you know how the government is, or seems to be, and has a track record of being, and yet they've got these cameras everywhere, so you're like, hey, if I make a mistake, if I say the wrong thing to the wrong person, I do the wrong thing, what kind of way is that to live? It's bad enough you got to deal, if you say something about somebody or an organization and they get ticked off at you, you lose your job, you lose a friend, that's bad enough. But paying for it with your life is a different story. And I will say, at the end of the night, V and I were standing there, and these 2 guys came up to us. They were Hong Kongers, and yet they live in the U.S., so they have dual citizenship. Hey, Gennaro, how's it going? They have dual citizenship, and they flew over just to vote, because they can. Now, I don't know if I guess they don't have, to vote and to support the movement here. I don't know if they can vote by mail like you can in the U.S. or vote online. I don't know. Yeah, I've heard all kinds of things, and there's been Aussie photographers talking about it, how the Chinese are basically trying to take over the political system of Australia, as well as several others, but Australia mainly right now is the focus. I mean, the gall on some of these people. And I have to say that yesterday, when I was, if you watched the stream yesterday, where the woman was walking along with the police, and the police were shoving everybody backwards, because I guess they feared for her safety. Now, they feared. She didn't fear. And I actually said in the stream, I can't believe this arrogant bitch. I mean, because the way that she conducted herself in that situation, I just went, how can somebody be so oblivious or purposely ignorant of what's going on in her situation? She's walking along with her head up in the air, just strolling along. Maybe she was doing it to piss the protesters off. She's on her phone, tapping away at her phone. She's just a little thing. If this were somewhere in South America, she would be dead. But because the Hong Kongers know, if we get violent and we actually kill somebody purposely, and they have supposedly lit somebody on fire, well, you don't know who it is, though. If they were to do it, it would hamper what they're trying to do. But she was just completely nonplussed by the whole situation. She's on her phone, and she's about 4'9", probably weighs about 80 pounds, 90 pounds. And I just thought, I can't believe this woman. And I told that to there. I was sitting with a couple of medics and a couple of photographers, and they go, "Oh, you were there." Yeah, she's known as like the meanest lady. She's like the meanest councilwoman or whatever. She's in LegCo, which is an organization, a government organization, a government entity or whatever. And they all said the same thing. People hate her. They absolutely hate her. And they hate how she tries to act like she's doing good for the people, but it's all in the interest of her party. And I guess nobody from her party won any seats. But I was shocked at how this... Hey, Beyond Trinity, what's happening? I was shocked at how this little woman... Now, maybe she's just brave, but I don't think so. I think it was, these police officers will not let anything happen to me. I know that. There's no problem. I'm okay because I am somebody special. I am somebody in the government, and these people will not hurt me. But again, if it was like in South America, I dare say she wouldn't be alive today. They would have handled it much differently. Somebody would have shot her. They would have went in through the cops. They would have just steamrolled the cops because there was hundreds of people. They could have easily got her, and yet she just couldn't care less. And maybe that's why none of the people in her party won. I don't know. But I know what I was told, and obviously this is anecdotal evidence when I'm told from, say, half a dozen people, 4 or 5 people. But it gives you an idea. And then the thing also is that the government here has been pushing this theory that there is a silent majority with the government, and the protesters are in the minority. But it's not true. It's quite obvious. And what I said was, if they were to march the troops in here, I wouldn't be surprised if people like who was it that told me? Maybe it was V. That in Ireland, people used to push washing machines and all kinds of stuff out the windows to try to hit the soldiers. This would not surprise me one bit. That would not surprise me. Because that's how they operate. They have to operate that way. Sorry. Let me copy this if I can. I can't copy it. I don't know what it means, but don't write in Chinese again. I'm sorry, but use Google Translate. Goodbye. Um, the other thing is that the vast majority of Hong Kongers speak English. Some of them speak uh, English very well. So when you get a message like that, I have to question it. And they're also very intelligent, so generally they would translate it um, before they put it in the chat. So you can see though that there are people who, um, and I've gotten many comments, and obviously Simon got a comment. Uh, it happens all the time. And there are people out there walking the streets in Hong Kong right now. They would love to hurt a pro democracy person, anti government person, whatever you want to call them. They'd love to hurt somebody who is a photographer or somebody like that. They wouldn't have any problem doing it because they believe that what is being done is purposely harmful to their country. They're being nationalistic, which I think they don't know otherwise. Some of the people they do know, though. I mean, listen, I've been to China a couple times, and I know that the people that I dealt with, they've been around. They're intelligent. They know what's going on, but they know how to live within the guidelines that are set in the country. And maybe for whatever reason, they want to stay there, and I don't blame them. I understand. You want to stay in your country. For me, I didn't leave my country because I was unhappy with my country. I left it because I wanted to explore the world. I wanted a home base where I could explore the world from. So there is a difference, but yeah. So there's a lot of stuff going on. This is I expect this to become quite nasty. I don't know if it's going to be quite as direct as it has been, which is people going out and throwing things at the police, putting bricks out in the street. I don't know they're going to continue to do that. I don't know if that's going to be their strategy. And I talked to a lot of people, and they all said the same thing. And these are people who were Hong Kong journalists. They were like, we don't know anything. The government probably doesn't know what approach they're going to take. But I did talk to a few people who said, we think that the first wave, our first wave, is over right now. There's a lull, and people are strategizing, okay, what is a better way to go at this, whether it means non-violently or violently, through protest or not through protest. How can we go about achieving things? And they're gonna regroup and be more organized, better organized, and I think that's it's certainly not an unwise move. But I don't see anything changing in the very near future. Right? It's not like they're China's gonna capitulate all of a sudden and just go, okay, yeah, you guys can have all your 5 demands. And one of the things is that they need to garner support from other countries, yes. And I don't know how much they can help, whether covertly or not, whether they want to or not. I don't think it's a wise move to be sticking your nose into some other country's business. However, as I said, Hong Kong is a springboard. China is making a lot of moves right now, and I think a lot of people are just oblivious to what's going on. I would say that I had a fair amount of, I don't want to say knowledge, but I had a fair idea of what was going on with China and what they were doing simply from being in Asia. But not to the extent that it is going on. And of course, if you talk to somebody who is in, say, in the middle of China and they don't know what's going on, they only listen to state TV and state media, they read state media and that kind of thing. In their eyes, the West is completely against them. Well, the West might be against you, but it might be against you because you're trying to take over everything. And a lot of people, they don't like being conquered, whether militarily or financially or anything like that. They don't like being taken over and then told what to do. Ever since I was a little kid, I didn't like being told what to do, especially once I was hit about 15 or 16. I didn't like being told what to do. I want to do things my way. And I'm still that same way, sometimes to my detriment. So yeah. Today there is a lunchtime protest. I don't know if I'm going to go to it because it'll take a lot of energy. And there's some things going on tonight. And Thursday night there are... Where's that thing at? Do I have it on here? Let me see. Let's see here. What happened? All right. Jesus. This thing is so slow. Compared to what I've got now, this thing is like a turtle. Don't I have a... What's it called? I don't know what the... Let me see. Oh, I know what it is. It's not coming up. That sucks. Anyway, there's some stuff going on. There's a couple of musical events, supposedly musical events, that say bring your mask. And this is the thing. Now there's all kinds of codes, and we're not going to let you know right away. We'll let you know at this time, and then they don't let you know at that time. They let you know a little bit later or whatever, and it's all very hush hush. And that was another thing that somebody told me, was that maybe this is going to go underground, and there's going to be a lot of things going on behind the scenes that people are unaware of, that are not here or not in the loop. So there's a lot going on. Despite the fact that there's not a lot of violence or protests where the police are beating people up, firing tear gas and pepper spray, and protesters aren't lighting fires in the middle of the street. But this weekend has not come. I mean, last night there was a couple thousand people, and it's a weeknight. And they were out until midnight. So I'm anticipating more people for the weekend. Any problems? Yeah. I mean, I wasn't gonna monetize, but then it was like, you know what? I need every cent that I can get, quite frankly. And if I can make a little bit, whether it's $20 a month or whatever, I got to do it. So I started monetizing them like a week ago again, and I noticed, like, I don't know. Let me see if this one is if they got approved or not. God, I hate this new YouTube Studio. I really don't like it. No, they haven't. And I actually have a woman yesterday, I think she was on my stream, talking about that. She's like, hey, We have an agreement. This is an international agreement. What's going on? Yeah, she was angry about that. Let me see here. Oh, shit. Oh, wait. Okay, oh, that's public. Let's see here. Hmm. You know, this is the problem. Their studio. I hate their studio. They got this new thing called YouTube Studio. It's a couple months old, and they changed the way that it looks, that everything looks, and that you can find things, and it sucks. And I'm not the only one that thinks this. I like the Creator Studio Classic. And every time you click it, it says, "Thank you for using YouTube Studio Beta." And then they want you to tell them a reason why you need to go back to Classic. Hey, Mr. Mitch. Um, the thing is, it comes up every single time. It's not like it pops up and then, it pops up 5 days later. It doesn't work that way. Now, okay, so I've got the last two streams that were up. It says not suitable for advertisers, and I clicked request review. So there's two I wanted reviewed. The biggest one that I have, really the one with the most views, that was live from Hong Kong Central. They confirmed my manual review, but it is not suitable for most advertisers. And this is what's going on in Hong Kong and everything like that, and they wouldn't monetize it. Let's see here. So they're I don't know why, if it has to do with the keywords, the titles, just saying Hong Kong in a title, and they automatically um, demonetize. I don't know. Yeah, the National Day. Uh, that one confirmed not suitable. So they won't allow that to be monetized. You know, I'm gonna try to go into PolyU. I don't know if I'm gonna do it today. I gotta say, uh, last night we were out. I hadn't eaten all day, and really the only thing that was open was McDonald's. We all went in. You know, it was four of us, and then another guy came in, and I was like, all right, let me have something to eat. I had a little sausage McMuffin, and I was really thirsty. I had a shake, and I was like, man, I don't know that was so good. And then I had a soda, and then I went home, and I was like, man, I don't feel good. And I don't know if it was the sausage or the milk in the milkshake or something, but my stomach just, it's been doing whirlies ever since. And I don't know if I don't know if I want to go all the way to where this place is, which if I'm going to go, I got to go in like 15, 20 minutes. Which is possible, but they're not usually, the lunchtime protests are not usually violent, but there tend to be a lot of business people and people wearing masks and stuff like that. So it's worth photographing, but I did stay out last night, like I said, till about 1:30, and I woke up at 6:30. I do have my tea, a little bit of tea left. So I should be here until at least uh, Friday or Saturday. hopefully longer. Depends on if I get any funding. You know, I got my shoes. I did my shoes. I don't know if I think I said something last night, but just in passing. But, you know, I have these boots, and I've been talking about them. They have saved my feet. North Face boots. I really like them. They're nice, but they're falling apart on the outside, the soles. But they've saved my feet. And so I've had them glued now 3 times, the soles, to try to save them. I took them into the one place, and this place was a leather repair shop slash shoe repair shop. They make shoes. This is the place where I said the shoes were 3,200. Was it 3,200? Yeah, 3,200. Was it 32? Yeah, 3,200 Hong Kong dollars, which is $400. They were very nice shoes. I think that they will probably last a lifetime. That's how good they were. You could see that they were solid. They were fantastic. I don't know how good they'd be in a situation where you got to move around, because you need to have a little bit of flexibility. You know, I don't need combat boots, but I need something similar that I can run around in. I got some traction and that kind of thing. Anyway, so I took him into the place, and I just took one shoe because the sole was coming, and then I gave it to the guy, and he goes, it's 150 Hong Kong, which is like 17, 18 bucks. I'm like, you can't bring it down. All right, listen, just take it. Go do it. All right. And then I was thinking about it. I thought, you know what? If I'm going to stitch one, I might as well stitch them both, because at the very least, I'll get a new pair of shoes, and I'll have a backup pair, so that if this ever happens again, because what I've learned is, unfortunately, there's no way around it. If you're going to do something like this, you need to bring all the gear that you need, and you need to have spare parts. You need to have, like, one thing is that I have a mask that's falling apart. Yeah, that'll work. That'll work. I'll just use duct tape, put the sole to my feet, and wrap it around my feet. I was actually going to use duct tape to put it together. And then when I took it in, the guy goes, I'll stitch it. And I was like, that's a great idea. Because, I said to him, is it going to hold? He's like, it'll hold until the rubber falls apart. But it's not going to come undone from the bottom of the shoe. I was like, okay. And from looking at their shoes, I was very impressed, and I was like, yeah, I think these guys know what they're doing here. They've probably been doing it. Some of them, there's a couple guys there, they've probably been doing it 20 years, 40 years between them both, something like that. And, I don't want to glamorize or make light of anything like that, I really don't want to. That's just not me, I can see, and I do when I'm with, other photographers, and, I smell some tear gas, which hasn't been in a week. A little more than a week now. Yeah, I do say, I love the smell of tear gas in the morning. A lot of people say that, And a guy last night goes, I miss the smell of tear gas. We were having dinner, late dinner, and he goes, I miss the smell of tear gas. I haven't been gassed in a while. I miss it. He said, I'm addicted to it. I want to smell it, and I'm like, I can relate to that. It's kind of like yesterday when they were shoving people back, and it was like it was crazy. I was like, is it wrong for me to enjoy this? And I said that to another guy, and I didn't think of it this way, but actually it was the guy from, the guy Avi. And he said, you can think of it that way, that you're liking it is bad, but if it wasn't for somebody like you, it wouldn't be bad. And I said, well, I don't know. I mean, I do when I'm with, other photographers, and, I smell some tear gas, which hasn't been in a week. More than one of an a week. More than one of an a week now. It was crazy. you wouldn't be showing what's happening. If you weren't here, maybe somebody else would be doing it, but you wouldn't be doing it. And that brings me to another point, which is that what I was saying before is that when V and I were getting ready to leave with the other guy, John, we were standing there, and these guys came up, and these were the guys who had flown over from the United States so they can vote and support this movement. But they kept saying, "Thank you so much, thank you so much, thank you so much." And originally I thought, well, I guess it depends on how many of my photos get picked up and get sold and are in magazines and how many people see them and all this stuff. But there's more than that, because I've been thinking a lot about it, and I thought, as much as I like still photography, I like the videos because that's what people want to see. Yeah, they want to look at a photo, but a photo, generally looking at a photo is a fleeting, the time difference that you look at a photo and you watch a video. If the video is interesting, the time difference is quite a bit. So I thought, oh well, I'm doing live streams, I'm doing some videos, I've got a lot of video, and then I've got a lot of photos, and I'm sure that some of them are getting out. And then I'm also on social media. And while I don't have a huge social media following, if you get 15, 20,000 people to oh, beyond Trinity, you never surprise me. You never cease to disappoint. Between all the social media and the photos and people sharing things, it's like a huge network. And then I'm just one person. Everybody else here, pretty much everybody else who's a photographer or a journalist, is doing the same thing. And then you have citizens who are doing this. So this is exactly why, yeah, I'm sure my wife would love that. My mother and father would love that. You went 57 years and you didn't get involved in that kind of thing, and now you are. It's bad enough I swear as much as I do. Anyway, so when you think of it in terms of the spread that you get around the world, I've seen Al Jazeera here, CNN, ABC, was it Australian ABS? Is that what it is? The Australian Broadcasting. Many organizations here. Reuters, of course. Bloomberg. All the Hong Kong media. And so I think that's contributed to the toning down of what's going on. Melinda Herman, give her a big shout out. We love you, Melinda. Gennaro and I, at least, we love you. And we love your dog. And your music. Khabib can do it, Gennaro. Khabib can do it. Believe me. If he came here, he'd wipe out it. We'd wipe out all the bad guys. It would be that simple. Khabib would do it. So, that's what's going on. If anybody's got any questions, let me know. I haven't got quite as nasty comments as I might expect, but that's a good thing. You tried, Melinda, can't do it. I like Melinda. She's a nice old lady. And you know what I find myself doing more often now is I'll see some woman who, oh, Khabib for sure. I'll see some woman and I go, I'll be walking along with somebody and I go, you see that old woman there? She's about to blow up or whatever. You don't have to bring a resume. Nowadays, although I do need some business cards, and I forgot to do it the last trip. I thought, man, I got to get some business cards. So I'll have to get some when I go back, whenever that is. I'd like to stay until at least Monday or Tuesday of next week. I don't know if I can do that though. That's pushing it. That's pushing it to the breaking point. Literally. But yeah, I should be giving out some business cards. But a lot of times, what people just go here, what people do is go, "You got Instagram?" Yes. Okay. They take a picture of your phone. They don't even type in your name. I never have thought about all this stuff. I mean, I just don't think about it. Like I said, nah, she's not going to change the locks. Nah. They know what's going on here. They know what I'm doing. I think it makes her feel good that I'm actually doing this instead of, that I'm using YouTube in a different way than just to talk about some chowderhead or something like that. I think that kind of irritated her. Is this what you want to do? Help guys with their stupid whore girlfriends or something? I forget what she said. Something like that. What is it that Joe Dirt said? Is this what was it about Jesus? I forget what it was. He's got a lot of good a lot of good phrases in that movie. I watched the other night before I was laying in bed and I was getting ready to go, just to crash, and I like to watch something so that I just kind of fall asleep with it. And I was watching, Kevin Nealon from Saturday Night Live does a hiking show. He goes on a hike. It's a short hike. It's like, I think his videos are like 15 minutes, and he always has a star with him. He had Kate Beckinsale. He has like Jack Black. He had Joe Dirt. What's his name? David Spade. He's had all kinds of people. He's had hot chicks, but he was with David Spade, and he was asking him about how come he's always got hot looking chicks around him. He wanted to he wanted to get the secret. He's like, "Can you tell me the secret? How about interview pro-Chinese supporters, get their viewpoint, and then point out their flaw and call them a chowderhead?" Actually, that's a good idea, but I'll be honest, and I talked about this yesterday with someone else about interviewing the police. And the reason that people don't interview the police is because it's the same answers over and over and over again. They never seem to take any responsibility. And that's seems like it comes from Big Papa in the CCP, and then it filters down into the Hong Kong government, down to the police. I'd like to do that actually, but the problem also, now I did meet one guy who I could talk to about things. I don't know that he'd want to be interviewed. What I'm trying to do now is interview. I'm thinking about this, is interviewing medics and getting their take on everything. Get a little background on them and getting their take on everything. I don't know that they're going to want to be on camera. And I've met a few of them. Some were more hardcore than others, and I mean hardcore like they were like they were in the military somewhere or something, or they trained with some organization that really taught them well. But and then there are some that are like university students or something like that. Well, that's the problem. I don't want to debate with them. I just want to get, if I can get them to talk on camera. But generally, they're so opinionated and so angry when somebody tries to tell them that they're wrong that it's. I don't want to say it's scary. I will say that last night. All right, I gotta say this. It's happened to me twice now, where I've had to stand up for myself here. One time, I was standing there with V and with the guy John, and we're outside of a station. I think it was Central Station. and we're talking about going to have a cup of coffee somewhere, and going to sit down and relax. Yeah, it was Central because we ended up drinking some coffee at the in IFC, uh, which is where one of the protests took place in the afternoon. Anyway, we're standing there minding our own business, and I'm looking at a live stream from on Facebook from like Apple Daily or one of these places. I'm just watching it, and there were these two. I don't know if they were Indian or from Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. I don't know, but they were from that area, right? And there was like a couple of Filipino girls. There's a lot of Filipinos uh, around there. From what I understand now and from what I've seen, it's a massive amount of Filipinos on Sunday. They hang out in the malls. They just sit there, or they hang out in the train station. They just go in the train station and just stand around, sit down on the ground, and it's because I guess they're getting air conditioning. I don't get it. Or they go and socialize. Yeah, it's Maid's Day, right? So they go out, and I mean literally, there are hundreds of them. So they got these, they're everywhere. But anyway, we're standing there. I'm minding my own business. I'm looking at my camera, at my stream, and this guy walks up to me, and he says, "Nah, you can't do that here." And I said, "What?" "You can't take video here." And while I'm on a public sidewalk, and this guy is nobody, and I told him, "Fuck off. Step back. I'm not even shooting a video." I said, and I showed it to him, and I said, "Look, I'm watching a video." And he just stood there. He goes, "You can't do that." And I told him, "Get the fuck out of my face." And I actually shoved him. And his buddy came over. And, V and John were just standing there, and it was, because I was like, I didn't want to hit the guy. But if I wanted to, I would have lit him up. He was out of his depth. And I don't mean that to push myself up, but he was way out of his depth. He would have, and he's like, oh, why are you so angry? I go, "Listen, please, just leave me alone. Leave me alone, please. Just walk away, leave me alone." And finally a security guard came over and told them, no, he wasn't drunk. The security guard told him, "Get out of here. You need to get your stuff and get out of here." So what he was doing, he was selling like counterfeit stuff on the ground on a blanket. And then he came over and told me, "You can't shoot this." Well, I wasn't shooting him. If I had wanted to, I could have, because he's out on a public spot, and you're allowed to do that. And on press, I can do it. So, not that I was press, I wasn't pushing that, but it was the fact that he came up and got in my face and said that. All right, we got out of that. And I kind of felt bad because I thought, I could have just like walked away. Exactly. He was selling. He didn't want me to show him selling the dodgy stuff, and then somehow somebody sees it, and he gets in trouble or whatever. I felt bad for messing up his game, but then again, I didn't. I always have these feelings where I'm like, should I have done that? I always question myself. But then last night, I didn't question myself at all. Because I was standing at the front line, and this was after. Yeah, this was after. No, before I started streaming after this happened. But I'm standing there, and I noticed this guy. He's just standing there like this, right at the front line, just standing there. He had a black mask on, and he had a bag on, and he looked at a place. For whatever reason, he looked at a place, and actually V noticed something that I didn't notice, and then I noticed in one of my photos. He was wearing long sleeves, and they were covering up a bunch of tattoos. And he did look like a thug. He looked like the kind of guy that you would think was a triad or a thug or whatever. I don't know because I don't really know, and I didn't think of it at the time. But what happened was I'm standing there, and all of a sudden, I mean, I've got my thing going and I'm taking some shots, and all of a sudden I just feel this, and he shoved me out of the way and just kind of stepped. And so I stepped right in front of him and kind of nudged him out of the way. And he goes, "Don't push me." And I go, "Then don't fucking push me." I go, "I've been standing here. Get the fuck out of my spot." Sorry for the swearing, but that's what I said. And so when he turned around and looked at me, he goes, "I didn't shove you. Somebody shoved me." I said, "Okay, well, then that's the end of it." "Why you push me?" I said, "Because you pushed me." "But I didn't push you." I said, "Well, I didn't know that. Now get out of my face." And so then he started pointing at me, and I said, "Don't fucking point at me, man. Get your fucking finger out of my face." And at this point, the cops walk over. I go, "Get your fucking finger out of my face." "What, you want to hit me?" I said, "If I wanted to hit you, I would have done it already." And then I said, "Now what do you want me to do? You want me? Now the cops come. You want me to hit you in front of the cops?" I said, whatever. But, he was very, very aggressive like that. And I didn't really know about it until V said something, because V saw him. And V just goes, "Yeah, maybe he's an undercover cop." He goes, "You might have just whacked an undercover cop, or maybe, And then what I thought was, well, maybe the guy's got a kid in there or something. But I don't think so. I think he was just some guy there to instigate trouble, to make his presence known. And I didn't like that because, I'm there to do something. I'm there to take photos. But the guy shoved me, like out of the way. And I said, "Hey, man, sometimes that happens. Somebody will step in front of you. They'll get in your picture or something like that. And you can't get physical about it. You really can't, because it happens all over the world all the time. And it's part of the game. But he did it. I thought he did it on purpose, because he just kind of like shoved. He shoved me out of the way, and I just stepped in. I'm like, "You're not gonna fucking shove me out of the way." And then I'm thinking to myself, should I just like shin kick him and then hit him with an uppercut? I'm thinking, and then he points his finger at me, and I was like going like this. I was like, "Hey, man, like, we don't need to get into this." And I had my hand like this, and I thought, I'm just gonna hit him with a right. I'm going to just fucking drop the right hand on him, just crack him. But then the police came, and the police were telling me, "Please, we don't want any problems." And I said, "No, I don't want any problems either." So I moved like a step over. He moved a step over. And, I would rather hit him with my elbow or my fist, or shin kick him, because he had little skinny legs. I was like, okay. But anyway, it was just, it was kind of unfortunate. But that he's the only person in Hong Kong that I've really ever had an issue with. And I thought, he doesn't seem like a Hong Konger to me. He didn't seem like that. So that's the kind of things that, it makes me think to myself, you're out. The danger may not always come. Can I use your pepper spray, please? The danger may not only come from the police, because there are some people that have been inserted into the protesters, that have mingled with the protesters, mixed with the protesters, dressed up like protesters, and what their agenda is to start trouble and to make things look bad for the protesters. Now, I don't want to fight. I don't want to fight anybody. But I thought to myself, I can knock this guy out. I thought to myself, I'll knock him out. I'm going to knock him out. Which is kind of like, if the guy was like, 6'5" and 380, I might have thought otherwise. I might have stepped in front of him, but I wouldn't have wanted to get in a fight with him. Yeah, I'm a lover, not a fighter. Actually, you know what it is I just don't want to be bothered with it anymore. I'm too old, I mean, really. I don't need this shit. But I'm certainly not going to back down from somebody just like pushing me out of my spot. And it's happened several times where guys have like been, like you're in the spot and they're trying to edge in, which I mean, I do it, but I generally say, excuse me, because I find that if you say, excuse me, people like almost automatic, especially people who aren't photographers, they almost automatically part. It doesn't matter where it is. It doesn't have to be Hong Kong. It's happened in Thailand, at least in Asia. But if you're trying to get the shot, the thing is that generally it's okay to try to weasel in and try to squeeze in, as long as the person is not shooting and you're affecting their shot. Once that happens, and I mean, a guy like, I was standing there and there was nobody around me, and I had my space, and I kind of leaned in to take a shot, and this guy behind me goes, "Oh!" And I looked, and I go, "I'm sorry, man. I didn't know you were there." And so I moved out of his way and let him take the shot. Let him take the shot. But it's bound to happen, especially with as many people as are attempting to take photos. So, but I thought it was interesting because he stood out from everybody else. You could easily, if you looked at about 20 people, you would be like, "Hey, this guy." Excuse me means I shat myself in Chinese. Oh yeah, well, that just about happened yesterday. Barely made it here. Barely. Seconds to spare. So, I got lucky. What else was I going to talk about before I close out here? I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to go out. What time did they say that thing starts today? Oh, I know how to swear in Cantonese. I know the whole puck guy, poke guy, du le lomo, chow hai. What is it? Learn yan. I forget what it is. I got it written down. I have to remember that one, but that's one of my favorites. Somebody taught me something last night. I don't remember what it is, but I've got about a dozen phrases in Cantonese that I've been learning, and I know about 10 or 8. I noticed you're tense. You must not be wearing Manscaped Breeze. Speaking of Manscaped, good segue there, Beyond Trinity. Manscaped, use the code Scott. What is it? No, used to. I forgot. I'm all over the place here because there's so much information to gather that I'm looking at a phone. A couple times yesterday, I don't know if anybody knows, when I was streaming, I almost walked into poles, backed up into poles. I hit something. I'd be like, "What the?" Yeah, use the code Malin20. Thank you very much. In fact, I got a pair of Manscaped Malin20 Manscaped briefs. They're very stretchy and comfortable. They're quite good. These are clean. These are the clean ones. They're not last night's because I have all the clean stuff down here. Yeah, they're fantastic. And they have literally saved my balls. And I mean that. And when I get back, I'm going to use I'm sure. Very sure. I need to use some Downy though. I'm gonna use the, what is it? The lawnmower. I'll be here until at least Friday or Saturday, and then I don't know because, uh, yeah, I don't really have the scratch to stay all that much longer. And I found out from quite a few people here that they may have like one client or zero clients or two clients, whatever it may be. They may or may not have some clients that want some of their photography, but a vast number of photographers do the same thing that I'm doing. And I don't mean online. They may have a network of friends and family. But most of the people have told me, yeah, if it wasn't for this, I wouldn't be able to get here. You know, one guy told me, yeah, the lawnmower. I'm going to go back to, when I go back to Bangkok, I'm going to use the lawnmower. Actually, I don't have to shave down yonder because I'm just not in need of that. Or maybe I need a trim. I don't know. I have to ask the old lady. But I am going to give myself a haircut because once the hair starts coming out a little bit like this, and also the bald spots start showing in the back, I don't like it. And give my beard a little trim. No, there's not going to be any ball footage. Although I am considering the anal bleaching videos, the anal bleaching documentary. That might be something that everybody would love to see. How can I go from Hong Kong protests to anal bleaching? That's a wide stretch. Literally. A wide stretch. Yeah. I don't know. Anal bleaching. Well, I found out that Jono extended his stay in the U.S. for another week, which means I think he'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow or the next day. So by the time I get back, he'll be back. Yeah, what a change, huh? Listen, before the Chowderhead stuff, you know, I did consider myself to be fairly serious about photography and journalism. And actually now there is a place that I'm discussing doing some kind of a project with. I'm just not sure what I want to do, but I like the whole idea about the medics. And it would be good to talk to some pro-Beijingers. That would be good. The thing is that there's a lot of people that they don't want to be on camera. They're scared. And what does that tell you when you're scared to have your voice heard, when you're scared to have your face on a video? And I don't mean scared because you're scared to. Well, I'd like to do the medic training maybe when I go back to Bangkok. I'm not sure how long the course is, but I know it's a little expensive, but I'm sure it's very worthwhile. You know, the medic that I spoke to yesterday told us that, I think he said it was a 30-hour course, which, you know, you can bang that out in 2 weeks pretty easily. Well, I don't know about easily, but you time-wise at least it would seem. Well, that's the thing, but I don't know how many medics that I've seen on videos treating the police. But most of the medics that I've spoken to, yeah, I'd love to do that, but you know, another one of the problems is that they don't, they're not releasing the names of the people, and thus you're not going to find out the names of the parents. That's the thing. That follow-up here is, and also everything's in Chinese. So it's very difficult for me because while I can do some translation online and I can translate things, and I have people that will translate some basic stuff for me, if I really wanted somebody to translate something, I can get it done. It's not a problem. But when it comes to uh, some more serious stuff, first they don't want to have their face on camera, and I think that uh, I think they're worried about the repercussion because the police are filming everything. They film things. Now, I don't know if they're filming to make sure that they follow procedure or they're filming so that they can go through the footage, find out who the troublemakers are, and pay them a visit. You know. Well, not the Starbucks baristas here. Um, I think I'm going to call them the three coffee chicks. One is very shy and doesn't really tell me that much, but she'll give me some information every once in a while and tell me why people are doing things and that kind of thing. And then the other one is very outspoken, and she is constantly giving me good information. And then there's another one who's kind of in the middle, who doesn't talk all that much, but once you get her talking, she told me the other day a lot. She gave me a lot of good information, and so the three coffee chicks, they're great. I noticed they were right in there with reporters holding their video cameras over their heads. Yeah, you know, like I don't know if it's a procedural thing. They want to make sure that they follow everything procedurally so that if a case goes to court and the protesters or whoever is arrested complains that they weren't treated a certain way or something was done to them, that they have it on camera, they've documented it, and they can say, no, that's not true. I don't know. Or it may be that they're picking people out of a lineup and then they're trying to find out who that person is. And if they see them regularly in protests or in gatherings, whatever you want to call them, that they can figure out who that person is and maybe go after them. I did see a young girl yesterday with a mask on. She couldn't have been more than 18, 19. She was a little thing. And she's flipping off these cops. She's screaming everything. I mean, they you know, like the water cannons. The protesters call. They say that the police, that their wives are the same as water cannons. They shoot out blue water. Their vagina is like a water cannon, and it shoots out blue water. That's one of the things that they yell at the police. Because of the blue spray, when they call it smurfing, when the well, I wasn't thinking about it that way, beyond Trinity, but she was screaming at them, and then they started shining a light, and she just went like, "What? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?" And that happened a couple times last night. We went over to this one spot. The lighting was horrible, and like V says. And I like this phrase, it was hostile lighting. Absolutely horrendous lighting. You got signs going off in the background. You got people with iPhones, you know, shining their lights. You got street lights that are on. You got some that are off. You got little lights in doorways and stuff. And it's... In some little areas it's pitch black, and then all of a sudden you take a step to the right and it's bright. You know, it's just wild lighting. But I noticed that when we walked into this one area where on the way to the McDonald's, where it was where you go into the square. There's a square in front of it's the new Mandarin Plaza. Look that up. Find it on a map. You'll see where I was. There's next to it's the stairs, or I don't know if it was the stairs or something. No, it was the stairs to the overpass. That's what it was. The cops had the overpass blocked off. They're all up there, and they're looking down, and people are screaming at them. Guys were flipping them off and smacking their asses and all kinds of stuff like that. I mean, they were just taunting them mercilessly, and. What happened was the guys started throwing the paper airplanes at them, and they didn't really care, you know. But they started shining lights down in their faces, And I hadn't seen that. I was just thinking earlier today, oh, they haven't been shining their lights that much. But they're shining light. The light is good there. And they're shining the lights on the people's faces to see them. And I'm like, you're ruining my shot. You know, can I get this light in there the right way? And you know, some might have come out. I don't know. I've been looking at some of them, and they're all right. But the lighting was very bad last night. But I did notice that the cops are starting to shine their lights in people's faces more now, which they weren't doing for the past couple of days. I haven't seen them do it for the past couple of days. I can't say that they purposely shined the light at me, and they were doing that before. The last 2 trips, they did that regularly, so that I couldn't film and I couldn't take photos of them. And I'm like, if you're not doing anything wrong, why do you care? You're a public servant, and that's where I think the problems have happened, and I think that you know, Hong Kongers are very in tune with what's going on and how things should be. And like I said, it's a very modern, civilized society. And I will say that I forget, what was the guy that I talked to? He goes, oh, you live in Bangkok. It's filthy there. How can you? Well, I'm not going to say who it is. It's filthy there. It's absolutely disgusting. I go, you've been all over Bangkok? I go, there's parts of Bangkok that are shitholes, yeah. And then there are parts that are pretty nice, clean. You wouldn't know if you didn't know, if you didn't see any Thai lettering, you wouldn't even know that it was a Thai neighborhood. You'd think that it was a wealthy area for Americans or Aussies or Brits or whatever. Maybe not Brits. Their architecture's a little bit different, but he thought that it was a shithole. So, you know, comparatively speaking, I would say Hong Kong is cleaner. And we were shocked at how clean the streets are. And how all the bricks that had been out, they're all back in place. The sidewalks are all complete again. The only thing that remains is some graffiti. They haven't got rid of all the graffiti. Some places it's been sprayed over. But for the most part, the streets are very clean here. This is a concrete jungle here. You're lucky to find a little park. They do have some, but they're, you know, the majority of the city is a concrete jungle. That's what I'll say. So, anyway, I think our stream has run its course. Maybe when I get to Bangkok, I'll tell my story about getting back to my room last night. What that was like. But I want to thank all the people. Got to do this. Thank you, Manscaped. Malin20 for the discount. Get the Lawnmower 2.0. You can shave your head. You can shave your down yonder. Nick your sack. Money back guarantee. Send it back. Money back guarantee. They got one of those. See you beyond Trinity. Yeah. Get the right tools for your jewels. I got my stuff right here. I got the Crop Preserver, Crop Reviver. Thank you, Tom. Foot Duster. Won't be long they'll make the complimentary anal bleach. That was a joke. It's a bad joke. All right, I admit it. What else do I got? Oh, and I got the Manscaping briefs, which I will wear today. Just washed a pair from last night. They're still sitting in there drying. But they should be dry shortly. Oh, thank you very much, Beyond Trinity. Ever the gentleman. Mitch, thank you. Yeah, so thanks to my Patreon patrons. Thanks to all those who contribute on this stream or through my chats and live streams and off and on the air. Thanks to the members of my website. I will be updating everything shortly. Hopefully, I'll have some time in the next day or two, and I'll start slapping up some new stuff, some behind the scenes stuff, and some older stuff. I'm a little bit behind, but not much. Um, and then for those who want to contribute in whatever way, you can buy stuff. You can use Amazon, whatever, and I get a little something. Uh, all the links are down below, or you can just go to my website at americaninbangkok.com, and you should be able to figure it out. You all are, if you're still in this chat, if you make it through the chat, you must be fairly intelligent, because all the chowderheads and boneheads generally get banned, or, you know, well, that's it. Generally, they get banned. So, or the 50 centers from wherever they are in China, they get banned. So, that's all I got. If I stream, I stream. If I don't, that means nothing's going on. But we'll see. I'm looking forward to the weekend, because I think it'll take a couple days for this whole thing to pan out. The elections, the news, the press conference that took place today. What happens with the kids, because I don't know that it's going to last that much longer. I'm going to try to get over there. I don't know, but I'm going to do it today. I'm going to have to make an appointment, and I'd like to go with somebody else. So if V can go with me, if he's able to do that, that would be great. But if not, I'll go by myself. I'll have to see. I'd like to get in there, even if I just photograph and stream or shoot video of the aftermath. That would be good. So that's what's going on. I guess I'll talk to you guys later. Oh, I don't have bye-bye in Hong Kongers say bye-bye, but I was also told they say something else, and I forgot what it is. So it'll have to wait until next time. So bye-bye.